Rightio. Ladies and gentlemen, this next session is around whenua and whare, our past, our present and future housing developments. So it is a great pleasure to welcome to this event and to the stage Lisa Davies, who is the CEO of Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei, and in fact in the bio is the first descendant of that iwi to attain the role of CEO for the organisation. The organisation, the Trust now, is a governing entity with the purpose of receiving, administering and protecting the Trust's assets to ensure cultural, social and commercial development for Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei for the benefit of its some 7,000 registered hapū members. Ladies and gentlemen, Lisa Davies.
Tēnā tātou katoa. Thank you for the introduction. It's always quite humbling when you get announced as the first uri or descendant of Tupuriri to hold this position. And we've actually had two uri. One was Rangimārie Whenua, who is the CEO of Whaimaia, and I'm the first who's the CEO of the Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei Trust. Please forgive my sexy voice right now. I am recovering from a cold. So it's not normally this low. But I do want to give a mihi to my whanaunga who were here this morning and opened up the conference. So I think they've given you a little bit of an introduction. But I'm really, really excited to stand in front of you all today. Housing is a very, very passionate subject of mine. So let's see if I can kind of inspire a few things today. Okay. So what I want to talk to is, first is really get you to understand a little bit of who we are around the loss and resilience. Next, I want to go into what does it mean by understanding and also creating action, and I'm going to focus on our Ōrākei Master Plan as one of those, because it's not just about homes, it's about communities. And then what I want to do is talk about one of our current housing projects, which is Hawaii Street. It's been in the radio recently, particularly with the mortgages and the partners we have with Westpac and BNZ and a few others, but particularly with a focus on engagement. It's very close where I'm having conversations with my aunties and uncles who are the customers that we're delivering to. So there is a lot of what we would call taumaha or expectation that sits on our shoulders to get it right, and we haven't got it right yet. So I'm hoping that the heads in this room can help contribute to that as we move forward today. And then just some of our further future aspirations, some ideas we've got that I always like to share in front of an audience, and hopefully if you see them come up in the news, you will support them. So this is home for me. This is Ōrākei Marae up at Takaparawhau. I like showing this picture, one, because it has our kaumātua whare just on the left-hand side. We have 10, and we've also built an extra 10 kaumātua homes so that they're very close to our whare nui. So they're there doing exactly what they did this morning, keeping the home fires burning. But it shows the closeness to Te Pukapu o Tāmaki, or to Auckland City, and how impactful Auckland is on us as an iwi and our papakoinga. Mai maunga nui ki Tāmaki, mai Tāmaki ki maunga nui. Te kahu tōpuni o Tupuriri is what I refer to, and it's what we call the dogskin cloak or korowai that wraps across the area that we say is from Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei. So it's the area that we like to say we look after within Tāmaki Makaurau, and it includes the 700-acre block that I just showed you a portion of in the image before. So, who is Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei? At the heart of it is Ngā Uri o Tupuriri, so that's the 7,000 descendants, or 7,000 plus descendants. Those are the registered members of Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei. Underneath that we have what we call our ūkaipō, or the heart, beating heart of everything that we are, and that is Ōrākei Marae. And then we have our elected representatives. So we have 9. I have 9 bosses who are my cousins, my aunties, my uncles, and they are very critical of our work. But rightfully so. I mean, it's important that we really prioritise the needs of our whānau. And then we have the structure within it. So we have the Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei Trust, which we call as the Puare Matua, or the, what's another way, the top board? And then we have the 2 subsidiaries underneath that. So we have Whaimaia, who is our tribal development arm, and Whairawa, who is to protect and also grow our assets for the betterment of our whānau. There's a lot of words up there that you can skim over if you like. But I do want to show this video because I could go through a timeline of things. In 1840 we signed Te Tiriti o Waitangi, but I think it's best through this video, and you can hear it from our tupuna, and really what's happened to us and how it's impacted the resurgence of what we're doing today. So are you able to play this? I always have difficulty doing it on this one. Thank you.
Hau e wawara, he tiu he rāki, nāna ia mai te pupu tara hiut. E tiki nā tu ki te kotiu, kuku mea mai e, ta pauwhakairo a tuki waitu, yoku e.
When they started to burn the two houses, like I was in the center of it, I knew my turn coming next. So I stayed there on the last day when they started to dismantle the place. Of course, my wife and children started to cry. So I thought, well, I'll have to go into this. So I made up my mind to move to Whenua.
Stood up against the might of the Crown. And we're not big men, but let them come and try and evict us off here. We'll have so many people on Bastion Point. We want that flag to fly. We want this house to stand because this is the basis of our pleas. Give our land back.
This is a peaceful resistance movement, and we will not resort to violence.
Government of that blinking day said, get off there, you nose. Get off there, this is our land, man. It's our land. Where else in the world do people get away with kicking people off their own home, off their own land? Well, it happened in New Zealand.
So many of the people in that film have actually passed on now, so really stand here before you on the top of their shoulders to carry on the journey. But it doesn't just show where we've been, but where we're going to as well. And actually two of the boys in the front end, when we went to the positive stuff, they're buying their first home as part of Hawaii Street. Kia rere arorangi ki te kahu pōkere ki ngā taumata tiki, to soar to the highest heights. This is exactly why we exist today. It drives us forward. And then I'll just, numbers, like we said, we've now actually at 7,500 tribal members, registered members. We are landowners in Ahikawa and Tamaki Makaurau, particularly in Te Tuangaroa is our biggest asset base right now. And that's down by Spark Arena. $1.5 billion asset base. Ōrākei Marae, our ancestral home, and I mentioned those other entities just briefly. So understanding our whānau and needs. Last year we launched our foundational document, a new one called Te Puro o Tāmaki. Te Puro Tamaki is the name of our wharenui that was burnt down at the pā at Okahu Bay. But for us, it's not about a sad occasion, it's actually about resurgence in ahika and keeping those fires burning. But within that, what we did is a bit of research to understand what is it that we need to do at number one. And the evidence shows us that we need to ensure that there is a roof over their head and they can put food on the table. If we can't assist them with that, there's no way they can think anything further or have an executive function to start doing more or thriving for their whānau. So when we're talking about homes and building them, there are so many different ways that we need to look at that for our whānau in particular. We don't just build homes, we also have 69 social homes, so we are also a CHIP. And within that, we're looking at build-to-rent opportunities in our next tranche, and also further home ownership options. What I wanted to touch on, though, when I was talking about, when we had a conversation with the team here, I said, what do you want me to talk about? And I could talk about pretty much anything. And they said, and I started sharing about the Ōrākei Master Plan. So the Ōrākei Master Plan is a combination, bringing together 6 different master plans, essentially, at different points of time into one. But at the heart of it is a set of workshops we did with whānau. So it's really hard to put a plan in front of people who haven't heard their voices being said, and then we go and build a house and go, here you go, awesome. So we did this workshop. And like any good whānau hui, we had a debate at the beginning. But it was bringing everyone into the whare. We gave them a blank page, and then we identified these areas here, and we said, here's a pen and paper, now play. And they did. So much conversation came out of it. But to be honest, from a community perspective, there weren't many surprises. But what we wanted and what came out the most from the kōrero that they had is that they want to make sure that their mokopuna, wherever they live in the papakainga, can travel safely from their home to their grandparents' home. And right now, if you look up at Kupe Street, it's a really long, wide road. There's speeding cars going down it. We had a mix of private, social housing in there. We also didn't have at the time a lot of our whānau moving back home, and we want to be able to move them back home. So that's where it started. But they want a sports centre. They wanted a club rooms, because it's those congregation points where we have our 21st birthdays, the first birthdays. They want the playground. They wanted a pool, but I don't think we're going to get a pool. They wanted a basketball court. They wanted a netball court. They wanted a tennis court. And what was really awesome to see was the passion, because they know that we're actually not going to achieve all this in the next 20 years. It's going to be more of a 30 to 50 year plan to get everything that we need. And the first part of that is actually acquiring a lot of the land that we need to, one, build the homes and also the other buildings and amenities around it for them. I really enjoyed this day, it was great. We did 3, this was through COVID as well, so just before COVID we were able to do 2 in person, and then we had to do the rest in online. But the online was a blessing in disguise, so we have about 1,000 of our whānau who are living in Australia right now. So it meant that they could Zoom in, and having a whānau members outside perspective, who's one growing up in Ōrākei, but now living overseas, they are so more grateful than those of us who live here, but gave a really awesome outside perspective of what are the core components that are really important, and they were all cultural. This is why we do what we do. We get up every morning. It's for us, it's for our children, and it's for a generation we'll never meet. So this is bringing to life some of their ideas. So from those little flags on that piece of paper, we brought this to life. So one of the challenges we have when we're building up at Ōrākei in particular is we can't keep going out, we have to go up. And when we're talking about tikanga in particular, we were wondering how people felt about living on top of each other. So our heads or our mahunga are tapu for us. And so we really wanted to challenge, are you okay with living on top of each other? Ultimately they were, but there were some caveats to what they wanted us to design in there. And as part of our kainga tuatahi homes, we had toilets above kitchens. So food is what we call noa, and that lifts tapu. So it's not good to have something where it's waste coming over the top of the kitchen. So we learnt through that. And so it's about adjusting some of these amenities and how it sits within the building to ensure that we're not just, providing the needs that you need to do from a housing perspective, but also respecting our tikanga as part of that as well. Water is also another element of noa. So just like our kaumātua and kuia this morning who opened up this conference, they do that 20 times over every week, and then they go back home. But when you're doing that work, you're opening yourself up to a different realm for us. So to come home and have water and be able to noa yourself is really important. So we need to daylight some of our streams that we have in Ōrākei to assist with that, and also even put in more water areas so that we can start practicing when we go home our tikanga. Even simple things when designing a whare about having somewhere to put our shoes when we walk in the house. We still haven't cracked that, yet it's something quite simple. Okay, I like sharing this. We want to move Tāmaki Drive because, as you saw in the video, we've lost access to our waterways for many reasons. So we want to gain access back. And it's also around the daylighting of the streams down at Ōkahu Bay. It will help with the flooding that we've been having constantly down there in recent years. But it's about us reclaiming the whenua. And this is at the other end. So Kupe Street, Kepa Road. Does everyone know where Kupe Street and Kepa Road are? Maybe? Yes. So this is at the end of the intersection. So if we want to bring our whānau back home, we're going to have to intensify housing in the area. And this is at that top end. And right now we are actually in the process of implementing that intersection. However, with budgets and constraints, you don't always get to add in the toi or the mahi toi or the artwork that's within it. So we're really trying to ensure that there's a footprint, not just as a function or the activity that's happening, but also from a mahi toi perspective as well. Hawaii Street. Kāinga Rua is what we're calling it, or the second housing stock, I suppose. So this is a combination of 1, 2, 3, 4-bedroom homes. And you can purchase these either separately, but as part of it, there was a requirement to have an intergenerational option. And then you could purchase, there were 4 that could purchase a 4-bedroom plus a 1-bedroom unit. We have sold all but 1 right now. I just wanted to touch on this a little bit because to enable access to home ownership for our whānau is quite different. So this whenua is on Māori owned whenua, so it's collectively owned by Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei. So it's been really hard for us to work with the banks to get mortgages so that our whānau can access capital, and also so it doesn't drain our balance sheet where we have to have it sitting over here. So this means that we can do more with our money. But it's taken a good few years, probably a good 5 years, I would say, of conversations first starting, and then partnership with BNZ and Westpac. But there's also the soft side of things as well, so it's having good mortgage brokers who are working with our whānau, because from a financial perspective, it's quite whakamā for them to share all the transactions that are happening in their bank. Money is not always seen as the most positive conversation point in Māori households, so we've not only just had to walk them through buying a house, but it's also what does it mean from a social and information perspective so that they're feeling comfortable at all points to engage in the process. I won't go through too much. So these are going to be delivered in December this year. I was lucky enough to make the successful phone calls, and there was one of my cousins, her name's Kataraina. She's worked for the iwi for 6 years. She's lived with her parents most of her life, and this is the first time she's been in a position, even at any point, because of the levers we've been able to pull, and she cried when I told her that she will have her own home. So she's got 2 young kids. She's moving into a 4-bedroom home that she thought was never going to be possible. And I know that from a leg up perspective, it's just going to do wonders for her in the future. I just wanted to touch on some of the ongoing challenges that we have. We all have to deal with these. There's rapid changes in the way that we learn. unequal access to homes and health, unequal access to opportunities and wealth. Climate change is huge for us. We launched our climate change positioning statement last year with 4 PO around water reticulation, papakainga regeneration, energy, and also transport. And we'll be launching our new EV project within the next month. Yeah, I'll just go. I'm running out of time. Just showing a few more pictures, bringing to life really what our whānau want to see. What houses do they want? What community and auxiliary and landscaping they want around the houses that we build for them. This is also one of our legacy projects. So up at Kitumoana Street, we have 26 legacy homes, which are Housing New Zealand homes. We had one recently burnt down in a home fire, but what it has created us is an opportunity to relook at how we can revision that space. And instead of one house, we are going to be putting 3 houses. So instead of a 4-bedroom house, we'll be able to return 2 of their kids back to their papakainga and have 9 bedrooms across that site. And this has been a 6-month program working directly with this whānau. The initial conversations weren't great, and things take time, is what I've found with them. And often we could draw this picture and give it to them on the table, but we need to go on a journey with them to understand their pain first, so that they can then share what it is and their aspirations are, and then we visualize it back for them. And again, being able to go through this process I've just seen a growth in them that there's nothing to describe sitting across the table from my kuia who lost her home and can now see a future where her kids are safe and back home. So now we've just got to price it up and make it work. There is so much I'd love to talk to, but ultimately everything that we do at Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei is for our people. I could go through all the different housing options and everything that we do. But what I would like to actually put out to this room is there are many challenges that we're facing, but we need a lot of heads in the room with different ideas, different perspectives that are going to contribute to something that's quite different. Like the housing funding situation that we had with BNZ and Westpac, it was because we were challenging the status quo. It does mean we need legislative change. It does mean we need more access to funding. It means we need to prioritise climate change initiatives so that the houses we're building are better for the future. But we will ultimately have to make them for the people who live in them. So welcome anyone who's interested in having that conversation. So ka nui te me kia koutou katoa.
Thank you.